Good evening, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this evening, St. Thomas man charged for public mischief and motor vehicle theft. A St. Thomas man has been arrested and charged after allegedly filing a false missing person report as part of a scheme to steal a motor vehicle in St. Andrew on Saturday, July 12. The accused is 29-year-old O'Shane Allen, otherwise called Alkaline, of Bath District, St. Thomas. Reports from the St. Thomas Criminal Investigations Branch are that Allen made an agreement to rent a Toyota Axia motor car from a co-worker and made an initial deposit on the cost of the rental with a promise to pay the balance. On the agreed date for the payment of the balance, Allen called his co-worker, claiming that a relative who had borrowed the vehicle was now missing. He subsequently filed a missing person and a stolen motor vehicle report at the Moranta Bay police station. An investigation was launched, and it was revealed that the image and identity used for the missing person was false. Allen later confessed that he gave a false report and took investigators to the location of the vehicle where it was seen partially stripped. The missing parts were later found by the police. Allen was formally charged on Tuesday with creating public mischief and the larceny of motor vehicles. Fish vendor fined for stabbing complainant in police station. A violent fish market dispute in Old Harbor Bay that swelled into a police station has ended with fish vendor Abigail Morgan walking free after mediation. The case was dismissed in the St. Catherine Parish Court on July 29 after the complainant agreed to accept $500,000 in compensation to be paid in installments starting in October. Acting Senior Parish Court Judge Janelle Nelson Gale accepted the settlement and the Crown offered no evidence. Morgan pleaded guilty to possession of an offensive weapon and was fined $4,000 or 30 days imprisonment. The incident happened on June 17 when Morgan and the complainant argued over fish sales at the Old Harbor Fishing Beach. The complainant went to the police station to report the matter but was stabbed in the upper body by Morgan inside the station. He was admitted to the Spanish Town Hospital for several weeks. Morgan was arrested and charged with wounding. She was represented by attorney at law Richard Lynch. Kelowna surrenders to cops after allegedly assaulting man with a board. A Portland man who allegedly struck another man in the head with a board during an altercation earlier this month has been charged with wounding with intent after turning himself into the police. The accused has been identified as 25-year-old Coran Price, otherwise called Kelowna, of Penn Lane, Long Bay District. Reports from the Castle Police indicated that about 1 p.m. on Monday, July 21, Price and another man got into an argument which escalated into a physical confrontation. During the dispute, Price allegedly used a piece of board to hit the man in the head. The injured man was taken to hospital, treated, and later released. Following the incident, an investigation was launched. Price later surrendered himself to lawmen and was arrested. His court date has not yet been finalized. Indicom probing police shooting of man in St. Anne. The Independent Commission of Investigations is probing the shooting of a man by the police in Ochoa, St. Anne on Tuesday. It is reported that about 11 a.m., 2 police officers attached to the Public Safety and the Traffic Enforcement Branch were on duty at the entrance to the Ochoa Market when they responded to a dispute between 2 men. The lawmen reportedly identified themselves as police. However, one of the men began chasing the other with a chopper while inflicting wounds on him. The man was ordered to stop, but in defiance, continued chopping the other man. The authorities say in an effort to save the victim's life, they fired several shots in the direction of the attacker. Both men were assisted to hospital, where the attacker is still being treated. The victim has been released from hospital. NIA calls for political ombudsman to investigate misuse of public resources by JLP. Watchdog group National Integrity Action is expressing grave concern over what it says is the partisan misuse of public resources by the governing Jamaica Labour Party for its election campaign. Principal Director Daniel Archer says government-sponsored advertisements financed by state agencies that are partisan political messaging disguised as government information undermine institutional neutrality, corrode public trust, and distort the democratic landscape. The NIA says it has also taken note of videos that have emerged showing newly acquired school buses funded by taxpayers to support national development being used in political activities affiliated with the JLP. Ms. Archer says despite the defense put forward by government ministers, the misuse of public assets raises serious concerns about breaches of Jamaica's campaign finance laws, which expressly prohibit public bodies from contributing to political parties and candidate campaigns.
As a government minister, you represent both those who vote for you and those who don't vote for you. And so until an election is called, public resources are not supposed to use to uplift, magnify, or promote a government minister. So people can see these ads and they will determine that it's actually an ad on behalf of the Jamaica Labour Party as opposed to providing information for services or projects or advertisements that are being done for the benefit of the public. The fact that it is being done at this pre-election moment, when we all know it's about the campaign season, in the absence of an election being called, is the misuse of taxpayers' funds under the guise that it is providing government information. So they have to do what they must do, and as such we call on them to conduct an investigation into the use of publicly funded advertisements and assets for partisan purposes following the campaign financing regulations. Now, any government minister can come out and say it is not so. That does not mean it is true. What we have is an oversight body which we look at and look for and hope that they will act in accordance with the regulations and provide us with the facts and confirm whether or not what we see is in fact the misuse of public funds, or confirm whether in fact the ministers are right, that they are not misappropriating the funds for their own advancement of their political futures.
JLP and the PNP unite in call for respectful campaigning amid rising tensions. In response to a recent spike in political misconduct, the political ombudsman met on Wednesday with the general secretaries of the ruling Jamaica Labour Party and the opposition People's National Party to address their concerns ahead of the upcoming general election. At the meeting, the general secretaries of both the major parties expressed a shared concern over recent incidents involving the tearing down and unauthorized removal of campaign signs and other political materials. In a statement released, both general secretaries, alongside the political ombudsman, condemned such acts and called for civility in the political process. The joint statement emphasized that vandalism of campaign signs and the destruction of property are not only violations of democratic rights, but also threaten to escalate political divisions and undermine Jamaica's long-standing reputation for peaceful and fair elections. Both the JLP and the PNP reaffirmed their commitment to the principles outlined in the Code of Political Conduct and pledged to guide their supporters in upholding those values. The parties are urging all Jamaicans to join in rejecting violence and intimidation and to help ensure a respectful and a peaceful campaign season. The political ombudsman endorsed the party's call for calm, noting the importance of preserving the progress made over decades in building a strong functioning democracy. Thank you everyone for watching. See you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another news update.